On this cold and damp and dreary day, we take you inside the Tri-State for Around the Diamond, our MSG Varsity Tri-State Baseball show. This is the New Jersey show, and a lot to discuss. We had our top teams. Some of the top teams in our regional polls lost. How is it going to affect the regional polls? How is it going to affect the top 20 poll? We're going to break that all down and reveal our top 20 poll later in the show. I am your host, Kevin Devaney Jr. We're going to bring in Gregg Lerner here in just a moment. Lot to discuss, though, and some interesting matchups, some good Catholic school matchups. We had Seton Hall Prep losing for the second time this season. First time in, I think, the 12-game winning streak was snapped. So where do they fall? What's going to happen here? And that's where we bring in the expert, and that being Gregg Lerner, joining us from his home via Skype. And Gregg, thank you for joining in on this week's show. And again, just quickly about Seton Hall Prep, did you imagine they lose at some point, given the schedule they play?
Yeah, because they lost to Milburn, who's our number 3 team in New Jersey, and who's their primary competition, the Super Essex Conference. So, baseball is a little different beast, Kev. I don't have to tell you than other sports, man. You're going to lose sometimes. And when Milburn has a kid who's a Division I caliber pitcher like Evie Rubal on the bump, and the kid's going to Notre Dame, that they have a golden opportunity to beat Seton Hall, and they did something that that you need to do to beat the Pirates, and they held them to 3 hits. Evie was he was on top of his game. You have to be in order to beat Seton Hall. And these teams have met prior, and Seton Hall squeaked out a 1-0 win. They're very close, Kev. These two teams are separated not by much. They both have excellent pitching. They both have depth in their lineup. So they've split the regular season, and chances are they might see each other again in the Greater Newark tournament down the line.
And we're going to see them later in the show when we reveal our top 20 poll. We're going to see where Seton Hall Prep, number 1 overall, where they fall. But let's dive into a game you were at this week. St. Joe's Don Bosco coming down to the wire there.
Always great atmosphere, no matter where that game is played at. Particularly the other day, because there was a number of scouts there. See Austin Pedrato, sophomore pitcher. We referenced him last week. He's known on the football circle at St. Joe's, but I think people are starting to understand that this kid is a legitimate baseball prospect as well. He's got a good fastball, and his catcher Isaiah Skiros, who caught Rob Kaminsky last year, he was the first to say that after the game, I don't think he's ever caught a slider as nasty as what Austin throws. But great game, Kev. St. Joe's is down 1-0. Bosco gets a run on a Dylan Maher fielder's choice. Some outstanding defensive gems in this game. Josh Shaw's play for Don Bosco, where he ranges behind the bag at second base, bare hands a ground ball, jump steps a la Derek Jeter, and fires across the diamond. It was breathtaking. But Isaiah Skiros, as a good battery mate does, he picks up his pitcher, 2-run double, gets St. Joe's in front 2-1 in the 6th. Devin Ortiz, remember this one, Kev. Devin Ortiz, a freshman, 6'1". Another kid. Both those kids, Pedrato and Ortiz, were throwing fastballs in mid-80s. So he comes in the bottom of the 6th, inherits bases loaded, 1 out, gets a strikeout, then he gets an incredible defensive play by his second baseman, John.
Just saw it, great play.
Yeah, slides, like Devin said in the story, came out of nowhere, dives to the first base side, gets to his feet, throws him out, and St. Joe's wins 2-1. So once again, here's two teams evenly matched. They've split now in the regular season, but again, great game, great atmosphere. The fans that were there, and there was a lot of them, they were treated to a class.
Yeah, and a very emotional game. You saw just the reaction after that play at second base that was made there. Just quickly, with Pedrato, I know he's young, but with pro scouts there, I mean, what was kind of the buzz? Give it a little insight, and I'm sure they didn't say too much. What was the buzz?
This is the thing. It's different than we were kids, okay? When, there was no internet, there was no perfect game, there was no social network, there was no really electronic message board, so to speak, to get the word out. So these kids are well known because of what they've done on the showcase circuit and stuff like that. Frank Salvano mentioned it to me when I said Ortiz it was amazing that Ortiz got, how composed he was getting out of that jam in the 6th inning. He brought up a great point. He's like, these guys play on a national level with their travel teams, with their showcase teams. They're in these type of predicaments, these type of circumstances all the time, and they're doing it all over the country in front of a lot of scouts. So, Austin downplayed it, And listen, Kev, there was maybe, I'll say there was a dozen guys there. College, some pro guys as well. but Austin downplayed it, and you really have to. I think that's the biggest thing for these kids.
Yeah.
Their talents, they trust them. It's just reining in their emotions and recognizing that, you know what, I got a job to do against a quality opponent, and if I don't get the job done, I'm in trouble. So
always on display, which is it's pretty amazing the way he's handled that. We move now to the Autism Awareness Challenge, and you were there this weekend, and I know you built it up last week. Did it live up to your expectations, the whole event?
It did. You know what? And Mike Garlotti, credit to him, his wife Trish, their entire staff that put that together. They worked tirelessly to promote that cause, that event. A great afternoon. Unfortunately, the weather came and imposed itself at night and wiped out some of the games that were, people were looking forward to.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, to see every player in that event wearing that shirt that those guys were wearing, the baseball autism awareness shirts, I thought was a metaphor for how unified every team, every player, every coach was for not baseball, but the message of the day, which was getting out autism awareness. So, of course, it lives up to, I don't even want to say it was the hype. It was just a great day, well received, and Mike is excited moving forward about making it even bigger. They had a couple kids come out and throw ceremonial first pitches.
Mm-hmm.
He's talking about making some honorary captains next year. Next year will be the 8th year. Mike does a fabulous job. His son Thomas was there, who's kind of the inspiration for this whole thing. He's high-fiving people. He's hugging people. The baseball was good, but the spirit of the event was better.
Excellent. And you wrote something great about that on MSGvarsity.com. Go online, check out Gregg's article on the event. It was very, very nice. You had some great games. St. Joe's Metuchen, though, the way that Brandon Belak has kind of jumped off the page here statistically has been pretty impressive.
Brandon is no surprise here. He's probably one of the top 5 pitchers in the state of New Jersey going to Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. What's really cool about St. Joe's is that Brandon is the ace of a deep staff that if I were to break them into pieces, the other 3 kids would be the aces at other staffs. You know what I'm saying, Kev?
Yes, of course, yeah.
Mark Bobko, Jack Harlan, and I got to see Justin Willis on Saturday, who's a freshman, whose breaking ball is electric, Kev. It's got some wicked movement on it. It bites hard. When he can get it into the strike zone, he becomes 10 times more dangerous. However, when he can get it to tease you and tantalize you into the strike zone and have it drop out, it's even better. I got to see St. Joe's twice this week. I saw him against East Brunswick on Friday when they lost. Saw him against a good Steiner team on Saturday when they won. The other thing, though, Kev, I don't know if he saw this or not, but how about JT Shorter, their first baseman, sophomore, comes up, hits a bomb, 2-run homer against Steiner on Saturday with a wood bat.
You mentioned about some of the kids using wood bats now, voluntarily.
He is using wood. Talked to him about it afterwards, and I thought this was real interesting, Kev. There was some discussion among some of the St. Joe's guys, and JT was included in the conversation about how when he came up for the first time with wood, it was like one of these nudge the guy next to you, hey, check this guy out.
Yeah.
Who's this guy think he is? Well, I'll tell you who he thinks he is. He thinks he's a hitter who finds that swinging wood is a better feel in the hands, but also, and I'm a big proponent of this, it is a wonderful, wonderful teaching tool. You learn to get your hands inside of a ball. You learn how to get the barrel of the bat to the ball.
Yeah. Far less margin for error. Yeah, I agree.
Right. The margin for error is very slim, but I feel like it also teaches you certain nuances of batting in terms of getting your hands inside of a ball and getting the barrel to the bat that are imperative for young hitters moving forward. And I'm telling you what, man, the ball he hit and hitting it with wood, pretty impressive.
Yeah, I agree. And you watch all the New York City games; they're by rule they have to use wood bats, and I think it's for the safety issue as well. And I think it adds a lot to the game. You can identify players, the stronger hitters, a lot more. But at some teams, it kind of cuts the lineup to about 5 guys, 6, 7, 8, 9, consistently can't produce, can't get those little bloop singles that he would get with metal bats. So very interesting. I wonder if that trend will continue, if it'll ever be a rule in any other places other than New York City. They kind of were the trendsetters, at least in the tri-state area with that. We move now to the hot list. Now last week we asked you for 5, you gave us 9, and this week, we wanted to kind of keep this ball rolling because it's a very interesting thing in highlighting guys that maybe we don't talk too much about. So first, give us your 3 hitters that you have, starting with Peter Ferroni.
Peter Ferroni. How about this story, Kev? He's called up from JV. I think it was 4 games into the season. Since being called up, he's 15 for 20. He's knocked in 6 runs.
Wow.
He's knocked in 7 runs, scored 6 runs. And to give you an idea of his impact, yesterday he comes in late in the game in the 8th inning as a pinch hitter, gets a single, steals second, scores a winning run on Connor Malpai's single. And Wes Milford right now, I think it's up to 5 games in a row. I don't think it's a coincidence that Ferroni, being put into this lineup has energized the Highlanders.
Now we're going to jump Brandon Abdul for 1 second. I want to talk a little about him more in a minute. But Anthony Santoro from St. John Vianney, the senior catcher, hitting a milestone.
Yeah, got his 100th hit. And I'm pretty sure, Kev, he's not going to forget how he got it, because he got it by hitting a grand slam against Long Branch on Saturday.
Yeah.
Anthony, 4-year starter, man, at Vianney. He's been a staple behind the dish for them at catcher, and he's going to Rutgers. So congratulations to him. And like I said, he's been a fixture back there for the Lancers.
And Brandon Abdul had a nice week in one game that he had. I mean, there's nothing more you can say. 9 RBIs.
9 RBIs. How about 3 home runs? In 4 at-bats. Scores 4 times. They beat Piscataway, 19-5. The thing about Brandon, though, beyond just that day, Kevin, is his value through versatility.
Yeah.
He is a left-handed pitcher who's, I believe, 5-0 now. Okay, and the Knights are 13-1, and they keep moving up in our top 15 in New Jersey. And the thing is this: they made a humongous, I don't want to say a 180. Let's say it was a 165 turn from last year, to the point where they're 13-1 now, and he's been a vital cog in that, both offensively and on the mound, and defensively too when he's playing in the outfield too. So Brandon, 3 for 4, 3 bombs, 9 RBIs, 4 runs. That's player of the month numbers.
That's pretty impressive for him. Some coaching milestones hit at the Shore this past week.
Yeah, 2 in particular. And the first one the first one ties into the second one.
Okay.
Jimmy Rankin at Jackson Liberty, okay? They win their 100th game, okay? Jimmy's been the coach at Liberty since it started. But the modesty from Jim is that the program won its 100th game. That was the email I got. Program wins 100th game. That coach wins 100th game. Program wins 100th game. Okay. I think that speaks volumes to him as a coach and how important the program is more important to him than the guy behind it. The tie-in, Kev, he is a disciple of Ken Frank.
Yeah.
And Ken Frank picks up his 800th win on Saturday night. Towns River South beats Bayonne 7-2. I mean, what's more to say about him, man? I know we spoke a little bit about him last week, but the guy is, he's a legend in Toms River. He's well known beyond the boundaries of Toms River.
And this picture, Greg, is him with his winning pitcher from his first game and his 800th. Very cool.
You know what? Credit Mitch Powers, the assistant coach at Toms River South, for that picture. Mike Garrity, okay, wins the very first game for Kenny Frank. I think it was 1979. Toms River South beats Monmouth. And then Tyler Folger wins game 800 on Saturday night against Bayonne. I thought that picture was, when I saw it for the first time, I just got a little goosebumps, It was like, how cool is that? But I'm going to tell you something, Kev, for anybody that doesn't know the program or Kenny Frank, that's the type of thing it is, man. People come back. Players, parents of players, fans never leave that program. It is such a tight, unified group, and it all spins around Kenny. So for him to get 800 wins, I'm sure there had to be a ton of people there. And, Tom Natoli denied him it. The coach at Southern, who was another disciple of Kenny, he denied him 800 on Friday night by upsetting Toms River South. But Kenny gets it on Saturday against Bayonne. I'm sure it was pretty sweet because Kenny's a Jersey City guy. So congratulations to him.
800, 251 losses, and 3 ties. That's a a pretty impressive career there for Ken Frank. So congratulations to him as they move forward. Greg, we want to thank you for coming in. What do you have online this week? Obviously, the rain is gonna hurt your schedule. You can be stuck indoors for a little bit this week. But what do you have coming up?
Well, we got the Morris County tournament this weekend. Looking forward to that. I know we're going to probably talk about this.
Well, we lost Greg there. Well, we're going to take a look at the Morris. He led us into the Morris County tournament discussion here, and here's the results from this past weekend. As you see, Morristown, West Morris, Montville, and Roxbury all winning, and none of the top seeds being left. Well, I mean, no 2 and 3, but no number 1 seed left. And West Morris is going to take on Morristown in a 2-3 matchup, and then Montville takes on Roxbury, the number 9 seed, in the other semifinal. And now our MSU Varsity Tri-State poll is the 4th week of the poll. I wonder when we did this, and we kind of set out to do this, knowing that baseball was unique to any other sport. Lacrosse, you have so many of the top teams play each other, so teams lose. But sometimes in baseball, you have the top teams lose to teams that aren't even sniffing your top 20 poll or your regional polls in Long Island and New York City and Hudson Valley. And how would we react? And this is really the week we have to figure out how we're going to react, because a lot of the teams in our poll lost to teams that were not in the poll. So now we're going to take a look at our first 5 teams. And I think the reaction, you'll get the sense here, there really wasn't much. And Don Bosco comes into the poll as the number 20 team. Even though they lost, don't be fooled by their records. Really are. You can make a case they're one of the top 10 teams in the Tri-State. But at 7-5, we had them at number 20. Arlington comes out, your 2-time defending champions. I just think Arlington is just not playing consistent enough baseball. Plainview JFK lost twice this past week after a 12-0 start. They dropped some spots, but they're hanging in there despite those 2 losses. Our number 18 team up in Connecticut is New Canaan, your defending Class L state champions in Connecticut. They move up 1 spot. And momentum's building. Big test on Monday against Staples. Our number 17 team is Telecommunications at 8-0. They haven't played too much baseball over the past week. They've been rained out and they've had other issues, and they're going to take on James Madison, really their biggest test of the season so far. And then our number 16 team is Longwood at 11-3, losing on Monday to Ward Melville, coming back, beating them on Tuesday. We felt they just played such good baseball over the course of the season. They belong in here on number 16 teams. As we said, they split with their 2 matchups with Ward Melville this past week. And now we go to the next, number 15, and that being Beacon High School, 9-1 all in the year. They move up 3 spots, really in line to win a Class A champion in Section 1. Tony Romanelli headed to Wake Forest, 17 strikeouts in Monday's 2-0 win over Somers. Now the number 14 team out to New Jersey. You're going to see a little bit of a trend here with New Jersey teams inching their way up to the top of the pack here. They've won 12 games in a row at Huntington Central. They move up 2 spots. Number 13 team, also from New Jersey, St. Joe's Regional. The pitching at St. Joe's has really catapulted them into the middle, and they really have a chance to be in the top 10 maybe by next week. 10-2-1 record overall. They go from unranked to number 13. Our number 12 team in the poll is a team that's coming down the poll 5 spots, that being Fairfield Prep. They lost for the first time this season in a non-league game. And we now look at our number 11 team, and that being Ward Melville, 11-2 overall. And they move up 2 spots, as we said, knocking off Longwood. I think Ward Melville, just the way that they've played over the past 2 or 3 weeks, they've kind of separated themselves from the middle of the pack in Long Island, and they are our number 11 team. Now we look at our top 10 teams in our poll, and we're going to start at number 10, of course, and that being Poly Prep. Now they lost a game this past week, but again, don't react too much when one of the top aces are not pitching. They are the number 10 team. They're going to stay there in the number 10 spot. Number 9 from New Jersey, 13-1, that being Old Bridge. They move up 6 spots. Brandon Abdul, 3 homers, 9 RBIs in just 1 win, that being over Piscataway this past weekend. Our number 8 team is Ketchum. They dropped 3 spots after splitting their matchups. Yes, they beat Arlington, their rival, on Thursday, but the way they lost 12-1 on Saturday, maybe they were due for a game like that, but Arlington going to drop a couple spots from number 5 to number 8. Now we look at the number 17, that being Bergen Catholic. They move up 4 spots. They continue to play well, and John Vandermark, 7 RBI in his last 3 games for Bergen Catholic. They move into the single digits in our poll. And the number 6 team being St. Peter's Prep, another team from New Jersey, 15-2-1 despite the pitching. Is this the deepest pitching staff in New Jersey? Antonio Velarde, Dan Cooney, Corey Cattle, Anthony Colgrove, all undefeated on the mound this season for St. Peter's Prep. Now we go to our top 5, and this is where we had some movement, some discussion, but we kept things firm. Milburn moves up from 6 to number 5. Evie Rubal headed to Notre Dame. He gets the win in a win over Seton Hall Prep, our number 1 team. You'll see in a moment. Milburn, though, they lost the game this past week, so we're going to keep Milburn in the top 5, moving up to the top 5, but just not any higher than that. St. Dominic from Long Island, they're 11-0. They're the only, really the undefeated team in Long Island right now at 11-0. They want to break out the brooms after they knocked out Chaminade this past week in a 1-0 game. They stick at our number 4 spot. Our number 3 team is Wall from New Jersey. They being 12-1, they're going to stay at the number 3 spot. Ryan Orender and Tyler Swagat, back-to-back complete games for the Crimson Knights. And now here you go. You didn't see much movement despite teams losing over the last 10 days. MacArthur is going to stay as our number 2 team in Long Island. I just think, as I've said before, Adam Heidenfelder just gives them an edge that I don't think any team in Long Island and maybe any team in the Tri-State can match up with. They're still, in my opinion, are the number 1 team in Long Island, and our number 1 team in the Tri-State going to stay at Seton Hall Prep. I know a lot of people thought because they lost this past week to Milburn 3-1, they'd have been averaging 12.5 hits per game. The body of work. Seton Hall Prep, to me, is the number 1 team in the Tri-State, but they're on notice. They are on notice with our expert Gregg Lerner as well to see where they are moving forward. And I think that, again, baseball is baseball. You lose a game every now and then, and it's not really an indictment of how they are as a team. And I feel like I say that every week, but that's going to do it for our shows. Thank you for watching Around the Diamond. Great job this week by Eddie Margulies, Stack, and of course Brian Butler. Bob Stack does it better than anybody else, and Dan Exter as well in New Jersey. Thank you for watching Around the Diamond, and we'll see you next week.